I feel like I've been handed this journey of self-discovery, and self-actualization is the one thing that I have been pursuing. Is I want to feel good about everything that I've done. I want to be unapologetically flawed and imperfect. And I spent a lot of time trying to fit into a box. And now the world has to adjust to the complexity of Sherlinda Scales. And that's okay. And hopefully they like it. Hopefully they're okay with it. My name is Sherlinda Scales, and I'm the founder of Mutt Sauce, LLC. Mutt Sauce is the sauce for every meal, and we distribute a line of all-purpose tomato-based specialty sauces across the U.S. There's 4 main flavors. We have original, sweet and spicy, ghost pepper, gluten-free. I grew up in farm life, little house on the prairie kind of living with my grandparents and my mom. My grandfather was most like my father figure. He made a sauce back in 1956. Growing up, we would eat it all the time, every day. At least something, one part of the meal would have some sauce on it. It didn't have a name at that point. It was just sauce. He was a Korean-Vietnam War veteran. He served over 20 years in the United States Air Force as an aircraft technician. I think my grandfather was a big influence on my decision to eventually go into the military. By the time I was getting ready to go into college for the ROTC program, we had learned that he had stage 4 lung cancer. He ended up being the very first person to salute me on active duty. He passed away less than a year later, and I called my mom. I was like, who got the recipe for the sauce? Her answer was, you need to come talk to me. I have something to tell you. And she handed me an envelope. I took the envelope and opened it up. It was his handwriting, the original recipe, and even with it being a piece of paper, it still felt like an immense responsibility that he has given me. I had this dream. I'd gone into this country store, but there was nothing in the store except for bottles of sauce everywhere. Like every shelf had bottles of sauce. I was like, that's what I'm supposed to do. When I first started this business, I wanted to make maybe 10 or 12 for friends and family to help them with the grieving process. So I just wanted to make a couple for friends and family, but the mentorship that I got was, hey, if you really want to take care of your family, you need to think about starting a business. It came down to the conversation of where are you gonna get the money to fund this dream that you've had and then the bigger dream that they painted for you. I decided to bootstrap it with my own savings and have my first production. My mentor told me to join the local Chamber of Commerce, and they have launch events for startups. All the members came. I had 700 bottles that I had made. I brought all those in a U-Haul that I rented, had the event, and sold every single bottle. So there I was sitting with all this cash, and I go back to my mentor. I was like, I got cash. I do not know what to do. He said, yeah, this is the tough part. You gotta reinvest back into the business. You need inventory, you're out of inventory. So it became the process of reinvest, and that's how I scaled. The access to capital is a real concern. The most surprising thing was timing of payments. Specifically, when you manufacture a product, the first person who gets paid is the manufacturer. And you have to pay them up front so you can get on the calendar. The other term that was new to me was the net payments. There's like net 30, net 60, net 90 payments. 3 months of operations before I get paid for something that I had to pay up front. So I'm 40 grand in the hole for the next 3 months, plus my operations costs. I would look for a banker who would understand and would help me not be scraping the bottom of the barrel and eating ramen for 3 months. What's also important is having peer mentors. people who've been through it, people who can, keep you from having the bumps and bruises either locally or whatever level you're at to say, hey, I did that. You might not want to do it that way. Things like that as a business owner that you don't have the discernment, like you have to have the experience in order to gain the discernment and wisdom of saying what is good for the business, what is not bringing a return on investment, what's good for me as an entrepreneur, and what is not serving me or any of the people connected to my business. So, my son was born the first day of the pandemic, and there's no instructions with kids as it is. So now you're like, what is going on? I had the whole year booked for events. And so as I sat there, turned my phone back on after having my baby, all I got was the email cancellations. Every single event for 2020 was canceled with no refunds. So now I have no revenue. I have a new baby. I think everything happens is leading you up to preparing you for the next thing. My mother has over 30 years in childhood education. About 3 months after my son was born, she turned in her retirement paperwork and she said, you need to study, you need to figure out how to flip this company around. Whatever rest I can help you get, I'm going to do that. My dad became the fulfillment guy. So at the same time, I'm learning about e-commerce. My dad's learning about fulfillment and packaging and all these things. And we would come together, our little family staff meetings. All right, what are we doing for David? All right, what are we doing for packaging? What are we doing for e-commerce? And that's how we adapted. That's how we pivoted during the pandemic. I just want to make that dash between life and death meaningful. And there's a lot of times I would think nobody needs to hear that you went through X, Y, or Z. Like it was something shameful, like put it away in a corner. Don't let them know that. But the imperfections are what bond you to other people. You just have no idea who's waiting to hear that you're doing this and you've been through a divorce, or you're doing this and you're a single mom, or you're doing this and you're an only child and the sole breadwinner in your family. There are people who are walking around with this pressure and there's no one else that they can talk to about it. It's okay to be that person. You have the power of influence to be able to empower them, empower people of all ages. Yeah, that gets me going.